Writing the TOK essay, simple tips for starting your TSA. The first step I recommend is that you make sure you know which subject disciplines fall under each area of knowledge, and you consider which 2 areas of knowledge you will be using. You only need 2, you definitely need to have 2. Make sure that you're not writing just about one area of knowledge. The areas of knowledge are the arts, mathematics, history, natural sciences, and the human sciences. We'll go through each of them briefly. First of all, the arts. The arts, of course, includes visual arts, theatre arts, music, but it also includes literature, plays, and poetry. So if you have studied those in any language, you can make reference to those as an art form. Mathematics, of course, is the simplest in many respects. It's both a school subject and an area of knowledge. I've also suggested that you consider, if you are studying computer science, perhaps consider it more as being a mathematics or applied mathematics than a true science. Be careful if you're going to use computer science as one of your, for some of your examples. History. Make sure that you're not confusing this with social sciences. If you've studied humanities as a broad subject, history's methodology is a little different. It's not aiming to predict or spot patterns. Most of its methodology is focused on analysis of text or imagery. If you haven't studied history at IB level, I don't recommend you use it as one of your areas of knowledge in the TOK essay. The next is the natural sciences. The natural sciences including physics, biology, chemistry, and of course all of physical geography, including geology. Astronomy would be a natural science as well, and some aspects of computer science. Finally, the human sciences. In IB, that includes global politics, economics, human geography, psychology, and business studies. Economics works particularly well because the number of models, different perspectives suggested. There's lots of good examples you can choose from human geography as well. The applied subjects, sports science and business studies. Sports science can be tricky at times because it draws on both the natural and human sciences. Think carefully about whether what you're studying in sports science is more biology and physics or more to do with psychology. The business studies can work very well, but consider that oftentimes it's an application of economic theory, so you may want to treat it more as being economics. In terms of your overall structure, the essay usually lands up looking something like this. You deal first of all with the first area of knowledge, looking at one perspective and then a second perspective. You then move on to your second area of knowledge, looking at one perspective and then on to a second perspective. You can, of course, weave between the 2 different areas of knowledge and write a more complex argument, but considering the challenges of the TOK essay, this may well be the best structure. In terms of essay structure overall, the introduction is absolutely key. You might find yourself writing quite a long introduction to really unpack the question and to show your understanding of the wording of the question. That's highly recommended, in fact. I often see good TOK essays where the introduction is about half a type page to really undo all the unpacking, introducing all the ideas that are going to be considered in the essay. You then would have 4 body paragraphs in the conclusion. Of course, you can have a different number of body paragraphs, but I would recommend moving away from the idea of just a 5-paragraph essay. Finally, some further tips. Avoid personal pronouns if you can. You're writing an academic essay. There can be exceptions to this, but if you find yourself writing I a lot of times, you may be writing a lot of personal anecdotes rather than really considering this from an academic point of view, which picks up on the third point here that I suggest you lean towards academic over personal. Avoid Googling things or using IA for examples. Remember, 150,000 other IB students will be writing the same essays. You'll all find the same examples. Try and draw upon examples from your own subject areas and your own knowledge. No hypotheticals, not something that hasn't happened. Choose real life examples from the real world and try to be as specific as possible. Oftentimes we land up talking generalities because the questions are quite general, but that your job is to try and find very specific examples to make the points and to make the arguments that you're talking about. Finally, a quick thank you to all those other teachers at BIS who have helped me, in particular Mr. Luke Smith, but all of their staff for their input on these questions.